Alright, welcome back, and let's get started with actually connecting our code, our project in Eclipse to a GitHub repository. The first thing I want to do is log into GitHub. So I'm going to sign in, and here's my credentials. Okay, once you sign into GitHub, there's a couple things you want to see. You have all your repositories here on the right. Then you click on your profile. You can edit your profile, edit settings, and so forth. Right from this startup page, this dashboard, I'm going to click this plus sign and click New Repository. It's going to ask you what the name of your repository is going to be. I'm going to call this SDET U, say training. I'm going to say repository for SDET University training. Okay. For now it's fine, we'll leave it public and just hit create repository. Okay, so now we're at this page where we actually have a repository created. Now we need to actually set it up. So let's come to Eclipse, put this on pause, come to Eclipse, bring it over here. Okay, so what we want to do is I'm going to right click my project, go to properties, I'm going to open up this directory. Okay, my windows are all over the place. Okay, so what we want to do is initialize Git to this directory inside our project, right? So this is our project, Java training, and is the one project inside our SDET University workspace. So highlight this, now open up Git bash. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is once we have Git set up, once we have our GitHub repository set up, now we want to kind of bring the two together with our Eclipse project, and we need to navigate to this folder. So I'm going to do CD, put this in quotes, hit Shift Insert, and that will copy paste, or that will paste in whatever I copied, which is this right here. Okay, so that will take me to the project directory, the root directory. Very good. Now we've learned the git commit or git config command. Now we're going to do a three-step process to getting our code from Eclipse to GitHub. Before we actually put it to GitHub, we need to say git init. Okay, so notice when we typed in git init, there's actually this folder that's this .git folder, which is actually it's hidden, but I have a setting where we can actually see the hidden folders. So Git actually placed a Git folder here where it says initialize empty Git repository. Okay, and now come back to our Git repository here, and we want to select this right here. So we want to push an existing repository from the command line. So we have an existing repository, meaning our repository is our Eclipse project, right? So I'm going to copy this right here. Copy that. Okay. Now come back to our Git bash and do Shift Insert. Okay. So Git remote add origin, and then this is the location of our GitHub. Okay. So basically, what this is doing is saying our Git is going to talk to the GitHub, right? So just two commands to do that work. One, we need to git init, and then we do a git remote add origin, and then our GitHub repository. Now once we do that, we don't need to do anything more with this initial setup. These are initial things that are one and done, right? So we don't have to initialize Git again. We don't have to need to tell Git where our repository is going to be. So this is done. Now we've initialized, or we have set up our Git to look at this folder, basically this project, the folder where our Java training is sitting. And what we want to say now is say git add -a. Okay, so when we do git add -a, that actually puts all the files that have been edited into what's called the staging area. And I'll talk about this on our first session. Now if I type in git status doesn't actually do anything. It just shows us, it tells us some information about some files. So in other words, these are all the files that have been updated, and now they are ready to be committed to our local repository. So how this is going to work, again, it might not be as intuitive, but we do git add, meaning we're going to take all the files that have been changed since our last push, our last commit, and now we're putting that what's called the staging area. The staging area is where files are basically prepared. We realize that these are the files we want to be working with. We've isolated those files. And those happen to be all the files that we've been working on this whole time. If you recognize, you'll see these different files that we've been working on. So once we do a git add, now we're in the staging area. Git status is just showing the status of our git, our local git repository, right? So again, git status doesn't do anything except just show information. So we do git add, and that -a means add all. And then the next thing we want to do, this is step 2, is git commit. And then you need to add a message. So do space -m for message. I'm going to say this is my initial add to repository. Okay, now put all of these on our local repository within Git. Okay, so we still haven't put it to the cloud yet, or we still haven't put it to our GitHub repository. We've now put it on our local Git machine, our local Git repository. So we add, we commit, then the command is we want to come back to this GitHub, copy this right here, git push. So shift insert, git push. And now this will think a little bit, because now it's actually connecting to the internet and putting our files into GitHub. There we go. There's our everything's look good here. 100% done. Very good. Okay. All right. So come back to GitHub. I'm going to click on SDET training, and now we see that the files were added just a minute ago. If I go to our source is where our Java code is. And here are all the files that I was just working on. So there we go. There's files, right? These were the classes we were writing in earlier. Okay, so there we go. So if we want to make any changes, actually I'll leave that for the next tutorial. So the main thing here is that we are connecting Git to GitHub, and we are initializing our project using. I'll write these out here. So we want to git init. So initialize. I have this in my slides here. Initialize using git init, and then, if you recall it, kind of that long line that we're not going to memorize. We're just going to copy and paste from GitHub. Once we create a GitHub repository, right? We're going to do something like this, which is GitHub link. So there we get from GitHub. Then we push code to GitHub. So what do we do? There are 3 things here. We do git add, add a I should say. We do git commit, and then add a message. So message here. And then we do git push, and then we need to call the branch, which we haven't talked about yet. But just know that we have to do origin master, and that's it. So these are your 5 commands. In fact, these ones are just initializing. Once you're done, once you have your Git set up, then this is all you have to do in terms of maintaining and adding code to your GitHub. So there are more things we need to learn, but this is the main idea here. Make some changes to your project in Eclipse. Go through this process, and of course, git status at any time will show you the status of your of the files that have been changed and if they've been committed or not. So we'll do more here in the next tutorial, but make sure you get the basic idea as far as how to connect your Git, your code to a repository using Git.